Could a surprise move be coming for the Miami Heat before training camp opens just a week from today? Well, that move could be waiving Terry Rozier, which we've talked about, but replacing him with Russell Westbrook, who is still a free agent as we are currently filming. And the reason why we're discussing this a little bit, well, Brett Siegel, an NBA insider, maybe, said that the Heat are seriously considering moving on from Terry Rozier before training camp begins at the end of the month. But the reason why we're talking about this is not because of what Siegel said. It's because we have now seen this same report start to surface time and time again. We heard Barry Jackson talk about how Miami is considering it, but nothing imminent at this time. We heard 5 Reasons Sports Network echo that same sentiment. And now that we see a national guy kind of mention it, it feels as if we are getting closer to a possible Rozier wave. Am I going to guarantee it happens? No. But I do want Heat fans to be at least alert in keeping an eye on the fact that Rozier may be waived. Because remember, if you waive Rozier before the season, you save $1.7 million, which would give you enough money, $3.3 million, underneath the luxury tax to sign a veteran player, whether it is a big man or a guard. And before we get into more, make the call. Should the Heat waive Terry Rozier? I think they should. I've been saying this for a while. Listen, he's probably not going to play a lot for you this year anyway. So, yes, you have $24.9 million in dead cap, but who cares? He's going to have $26.6 million in dead cap if you keep him on the roster and don't play him like it's currently projected. But the reason why it just feels more and more obvious that the Heat should cut him and maybe go out and sign a guard is because it's a little bit more complicated now for Miami that they have no Tyler Herro for a little bit here. I mean, you think of what the Heat roster was supposed to be. It was supposed to have Tyler Herro in that starting backcourt next to Norman Powell. It was supposed to have him lead this offense. But now you have to change some things. Herro is no longer going to start in the first month of the year. So you're going to have to potentially change the starting group around in a massive way. I obviously believe Davion Mitchell is going to be that starting one next to Norman Powell. And if that's the case, I think you should be starting Nikola Jovic. And to me, there is just no way you can justify starting Kel'el Ware over Jovic in the first month of the year. Like, I don't want to be so out on starting Ware to where if they do end up starting the second-year center, I will be upset. But when you think of what Miami's starting group will need without Tyler Herro for a month of play, you'll need more shooting, you'll need more creation, and more spacing. Well, what does Nikola Jovic bring to the table? He does all of that at 6'10". Kel'el Ware is not enough of a spacer, and the offense for Miami could just be too bogged down, especially without that on-ball creator that Tyler Herro is. So start Nikola Jovic. I actually don't think you can even justify starting Kel'el Ware. If you say start Kel'el Ware, that's just because you're a fan of him and you think he has big talent as a second-year guy, which I am not disputing. I think he has a really high ceiling for Miami. But when you talk about the Heat roster, you just can't justify him starting and that being the right basketball decision. But also with Tyler Herro being banged up, you kind of need a guard now. Like, do we trust these guards that Miami currently has? When you're looking at point guards on Miami, it's Davion Mitchell, it's Drew Smith, it's Kasparas Jakučionis, and currently Terry Rozier. You have a rookie that did not look good in Summer League. You have a player that is awful. We want him gone and under an investigation from the FBI. And we have another player returning from a major knee surgery. You don't have point guards. So adding one makes a ton of sense, and one that you might feel more comfortable playing over a guy like Terry Rozier. And the top 5 guards, in my opinion, are as follows. I put Alec Burks in there, even though he's not a point guard, just because he was with us last season. And I know Miami would be interested in bringing him back if they had enough space to do so. But if you're looking at point guard, how about old friend DeLon Wright, Russell Westbrook, Cam Payne, or Monte Morris? You have 4 veterans here that can come in and give you valuable minutes throughout the year, or even take over as a potential starter, even though I think it would still be Davion Mitchell. But we are about a week away from training camp beginning. Media day is next Monday. Training camp begins Tuesday the 30th. Make sure you're subscribed because we are exactly 1 month away from the regular season, October 22nd. So subscribe because Heat basketball is almost back, baby. We're going to focus on Russell Westbrook in today's show because I do think it would be an interesting addition for the Miami Heat to bring in Russ, who was with the Denver Nuggets just a year ago. Now, there's a lot of buzz that he may sign with the Sacramento Kings, and the Kings are looking for ways to create space and money for Russell Westbrook, and that's like a foregone conclusion. But maybe Miami swoops in and says, hey, Russ, we'll give you a 1-year vet min deal, and let's get something done here because the thing with Sacramento isn't a guarantee. Well, last year, Russ was an interesting player for the Denver Nuggets. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. His raw numbers are fine. Didn't shoot well from three. And a lot of his struggles late in the year, people kind of carved up to a hand injury, which he got surgery on following the conclusion of the Denver Nuggets year. And listen, it's not like we're getting OKC MVP Russ. I don't think anyone would have expected that or expect that whatsoever. But he certainly still can play. You do have to realize, though, if you take in Russell Westbrook, you have to take the highs with the lows. This is a player that averaged 3.2 turnovers a game last season, so barely a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. And this is a person that has done that over the course of his career. He high energy, missed a lot of shots, bad turnovers, some bad misses, but something he really improved on a year ago that made him impactful and valuable for the Nuggets is the ability to knock down a corner three. Listen, he still shot 32% from beyond the arc. And you see from the above the break shots, it's ugly. Not a lot of volume, and the efficiency is really bad. And he's not that good of a finisher at the rim either, and he really can't shoot that 8 to 14-foot mid-range shot that he did really well for the OKC Thunder. But as a downhill, drive to the rim guy, create for teammates, and a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter from the corner, well, that is where he found value last season. And you ask, why would the Heat go and opt to sign Russell Westbrook? Well, I don't think Kasparas Jakubonis, the Heat's 20th overall pick this past draft out of Illinois, is ready to be an NBA contributor in year one. And this is coming from a person who was as high on Kasparas Jakubonis as anyone was when the Heat drafted him. This was a player I had in my top 7 of my NBA big board. I was going up and down, screaming from the rooftops that everything may have just changed for the Heat drafting Jakubonis. But the truth is this, he's 19, he didn't look good in Summer League, and I think he will need time to develop playing in the G League a little bit. Does Jakubonis impact this squad in the second half of the season? Probably, and I would hope that he does. But in the first couple months of the year, I don't think you can expect him to be an NBA rotation guy right away. You need a true veteran guard. And it goes back to that rotation that I just mentioned. Do we trust Drew Smith coming off of a massive season-ending knee surgery? I don't know if that's the case. And when you look at that group, it's Davion, it's Drew Smith, it's Jakubonis, it's Rozier. That might be the least trustworthy point guard rotation in the entire NBA for the first month of the year. Obviously, Tyler Herro changes things, but you don't have him for a full month. So where do you go? That's why I think signing a veteran like Russell Westbrook could make a ton of sense. More coming up here in a second, but grab this Heat 30-ounce stainless steel tumbler, mug, whatever you want to call it, for $16 off. How about that? Usually $42, right now available for $26 when you go to chatsports.com/heatmug. Listen, not as good as my Heat water bottle that y'all see sometimes on my watch parties, but if you like some coffee or some water, grab this Heat mug. It's pretty sweet. I know. A lot of people are going to come into the comments section and say, Nick, why the heck are we signing another guard? Blah, 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 blah. We need a third big. Well, I do agree we need a third big. But if you end up starting Nikola Jovic, like I believe you should with Tyler Herro out, the roster becomes much more balanced because now you have a starting front court of Wiggins, Jovic, and Bam, and now you have Ware coming off the bench, and those are your two backup centers. And yes, a third center would still be nice to have as backup and has depth, but you don't need one right away if you move Ware to the bench and just kind of say, yes, Bam and Ware can play together, but we're not really going to put those two on the court together as often as we did at the end of last season because we need to configure the lineups in a certain type of way. That makes a lot of sense for me. And then you just sign a big man potentially in December because you actually have the option to sign them for a cheaper cap hit in December when we get us to a certain point in the season. Miami just simply has to weather the storm while Tyler Herro's out the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season because Herro isn't going to be here for the next 8 weeks. So you could come back potentially in mid to late November, or it could be in December. Point is, Miami just has to survive and make it, which is why I think signing a guard to have those 2 months makes a lot of sense. And some people might ask, when does Tyler Herro potentially return for Miami? Well, based off the timeline that the Heat gave, about 8 weeks with surgery this past Friday, a return may come around November 17th or November 19th. Those games against the Knicks at home on that Monday or against the Warriors at home on that Wednesday. A script writer would probably say it's the 19th against the Warriors, if that's the case, because Jimmy Butler would be returning to Miami once again. But when you look at the Heat schedule, and if that forecasted return is true, that's about 13 or 14 games where Tyler Herro is missing. If you could find a way to go 500 in the first 14 games of the season, that would be a massive win, in my opinion. Because the Heat schedule is actually really difficult in the first couple months of the year. So if you're able to stay afloat and go 500, that would make me very, very happy. And I will not be pressing the panic button earlier in the season. You could clip this, I promise you. If the Heat are down and are 500, just under 500 in the first month of the year without Herro, I'm not freaking out because the schedule's tough. You have to go on a quick road trip against the Clippers, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Spurs at the beginning of the season. So it's tough. If you just go 500 while Tyler Herro's out, that'd be a massive win for this Heat team. And we'll be here every step of the way this Heat season with videos, weekly watch parties. You know how we get down. If you don't, well, ask around because we're the best there is. Join us today because the season is 1 month away.